Welcome to Lead Your Life, the podcast for people who are seeking harmony in business and in life. My name is Debbie Heiser, and I'm an inner mastery and business mindset coach and the chief igniter here at The Lit Up Life. I feel an urgency to help people let go of past messaging so that they can make a lot of money doing what they love without sacrificing what they value most. Welcome. We're glad you're here.
Straight from the corners of my mind is where I find my sanity. It's a place, another land, another time.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Lead Your Life with Debbie Heiser. I am excited today to have my guest, and she goes by Lou or Louise, and I'm going to have her introduce herself. But as you know, I always tell a little bit of a background about how I met someone. And in this world of podcasting, we look for people to come on our show. Other people look to come on to other shows. And that's kind of how we met. But we had, I think, 3 times we had this set up, maybe twice at least, I know for sure.
Maybe 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
It's been like when we just saw each other just now, it was like, oh my God, you're real.
Right. Exactly. And so we're both excited to get to have this conversation. And Lou has a really cool story and how you have shown up in the world now to help impact the world in a bigger way. So I'm going to have you introduce yourself and kind of tell the audience what you do and how you show up in the world in service. And then we're just going to have a conversation.
Okie dokie. Well, I am a mindset and transformation coach, and I help women who are facing life-changing challenges. I help them, support them, guide them using the tools that I used for the challenge that I went through, or challenges that I went through, and I help them with that and show them the tools. And I've got like a 12-week course, which is amazing. It's the personal power program, and it's been really successful, and nothing makes me happier than helping someone, seeing the light go on in their eyes, and they're like, oh my God, anything is possible. This is possible. Because sometimes we all just need that nudge and the support and being told that you're enough and it's okay. And, life is challenges, and when any challenge comes along, it's like, okay, what is it it's asking me to do? So then I can end this challenge. And what I found with everything, it's surrender and acceptance with everything.
Yeah.
Whether you've broken up with your boyfriend, if you're fighting it, you're going to be miserable. But if you're like, okay, it is, and I accept it.
Yeah.
Lose a job, move to a different city.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Lou. Lou and I had a little bit of a conversation before we got on. So I do want to go back, though, before we get to Cincinnati. And I want to go back because you're originally from London, correct?
Just to confuse
For
you,
Europe.
I was born in Australia.
Okay.
I was the Vegemite baby in all the commercials. I stuck my head in the pot of Vegemite. I was like 18 months old. And if you tell an Australian that now, they go, oh, I have to call my parents. I have to call my parents. Hold on.
Oh, that's fun.
They're like, I'm sitting here with the Vegemite girl. It's bizarre. I was 18 months old. Then I moved with my mum to England.
Okay.
Left my dad there because he's a entertainment producer. He produced musicians, like really big ones. So we moved back to England, and that was it. And I moved to LA when I was 21.
Okay, perfect. And so tell us a little bit, because you were talking about challenges, and you said challenge and then you added the plural at the end. Kind of share with the listeners, because I've read your story on your website, and tell us like what happened because you weren't in this field to begin with, were you?
Oh, no.
Oh. Yeah. So what were you doing before? And then tell us when that kind of pivotal, life-changing moment happened that now you help other people through.
Okay. So fortunately, as a coach, I've been through a lot of challenges, so I can pretty much help anyone going through anything. And so as a child, when we moved back to England, my mum married my stepdad, and he was a rageaholic. And I was 4 years old. So that was really scary. And I thought that that's how all kids were being brought up. And I knew that I wanted to be an actor. And so that's what got me through that time. So that was really hard. Then my mom divorced him. Then my mom found out she had leukemia.
Oh, wow.
And so I was her, like her nurse, her best friend, her daughter, her, you know, I mean, her therapist, anything that
Caretaker.
I
And how
could
old
do.
were you
Yeah,
then?
16.
Okay. Wow.
And
Yeah.
I had a brother and sister, have a brother and sister. And so they were sent to boarding school because mum didn't want them to see everything she was going through. So it
So
was
they're
really
younger.
yeah. My grandmother and I were the caretakers. So yeah, after 5 years, she died. And nobody was expecting it. And she always used to tell me, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die. And so I believed her. And it was really tough because when somebody's going through cancer, they're taking all these drugs and they're on all these treatments, and they're also facing their mortality. And when you've got 3 kids and 2 dogs and a mother and, you know, family, the last thing you want to do is leave them. So, you know, she used to, but she was always really good about that until one time she was having a procedure, and she said to me, she was crying, and she said, I need to talk to you. You need to promise me you'll take care of the kids. And it was one of those things. It was the first time she'd ever spoken like that. And I knew that I couldn't say, no, Mom, don't be silly. But I knew that she needed to hear it. And I said, of course I will, but you're not going anywhere. So let's just stay on that, you know.
That's a tough thing, isn't it? Because my mom too, we haven't spoken about this, but my mom passed away of breast cancer. And I remember that pivotal moment too, where we were sitting at the kitchen table and she's like, I'm not giving up, but I also need to, it's almost like I live by this infinity loop, right? Like you still need to prepare for what may happen, but I'm not giving up kind of thing. And it's a really interesting juxtapose, but it's really hard to watch your loved one, especially your mom, right, go through what they go through with that.
She was the strongest, most courageous woman I've ever met. And I was so lucky to have her as a mom. We had a lot of fun. That 5 years were really tough. But we also had fun during those times. And yeah, I mean, at the beginning, she told me she had anemia. And it was, you know, anyway, it was really hard. But that's what I was going to tell you. So I learned a lot from her, which came into play when I moved to LA and when the next challenge happened. But what I learned from her was she was in the hospital so much. She was on a ward where little kids were. And they were all private rooms, but the kids would run around, you know, and they had no hair, and all the adults had no hair and were dying and all the rest of it. And my mom was like, this isn't good for kids. She said, I think that we should build a ward just for kids that has like characters all over the walls and toys and all of this stuff. So she set up the Children's Leukemia Trust, and we all did charitable events raising money for this ward at the hospital. Anyway, Mum passed away before the ward was built, before they had enough money. And then there was a guy at the hospital who was dying, and he didn't have any relatives or family. And he said to the doctor, who happened to have been my mum's doctor too, I need to know where I can give my money. And so he said, oh, so he told him about my mum's charity. And then a few years later, I went to the hospital, and I went to see a nurse, and she recognized me, and she took me to the ward. And there was a placard outside with my mum's name. And I was like, oh my God. And then I looked through the window because I wasn't allowed in. And the nurse was like, oh, there's an air filter system that your mum wanted put in so that only like clear air was going through. I mean, it was just incredible. It was just, I was like, this is where God is. This is the purpose of life and of going through challenges. You can help other people from your own experience. So it's not wasted, you know?
Well, that gives me goosebumps. Yeah. And isn't it magnificent too, afterwards, my mom, her like social sorority that she was in, set up a memorial walk, and we gave away scholarships for many, many years to kids that, because she always loved the underdog, and she owned a hardware store, but she worked at the high school for years before she did that. And she always kind of took the underdog under her wing. And because she grew up really, really poor. And so it helped kids that otherwise wouldn't have had the opportunity and the means. And it's so, like, as you were talking about that, I was getting chills, because it's like, that's the legacy, right? Like what you're saying is, that's kind of the purpose, is how do we pay it forward into something that impacts and changes people's lives, which is probably, I'm making an assumption here, but probably, I know that's part of my big why of what I do. And that's probably a piece of what you're doing too, right? Like you just see the possibilities and this bigger thing that sometimes other people can't see because we get these blinders on.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do believe that, they never leave us. We have so many spirits around us at all times, that maybe I just thought about this just now. Maybe she made sure her doctor saw that man because she knew, you just don't know. But I like to look at the magic in that.
Yeah, and I do a lot of work in the universal laws, and also from my faith base. And there's the universal law of transmutational energy. And if you think about it, we're all energy, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
so in a way, it's not lost. And I don't know about you, but I've had way too many situations in my life where I know she's there, right?
Yeah.
Like things that have happened.
You suddenly feel them, don't you?
Yeah. Or like,
and I'm like,
I get,
oh my God, I know you're here. I feel you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So
yes. So then I moved to LA to act. And I got there, I was really, excited. It was like a year after my mom passed away. And my family basically told me to do that because I was going to give up everything and just be a mom and take care of my siblings. And I was told, no, you got to go live your life. So I get there and I'm meeting with casting directors, and it's awesome. I'm being told that I'm going to work all the time. I was up for Beverly Hills, not up for, I was basically given a role on Beverly Hills 90210 as an exchange student. So everything was going great.
Yeah.
I bought a car. It was a used car, and it was a convertible, which I was really excited about. It was, the seatbelt was kind of like loose. And so I said to the person at the dealership, I was like, this feels a little bit loose. Has this car been in an accident or anything? They said, no, come in next week and we'll fix it. And I said, okay. So I didn't make it to the next week. So I picked up a friend, was, driving home, picked up some Chinese food, turned onto my street. I don't remember anything else. But apparently what happened was a retired physician who's 78 years old, was driving on the wrong side of the road towards me. There was a turning here and he was going to turn left. And apparently I was like, what the bleep, bleep, bleep. Yeah. And tried to avoid hitting him, and he slammed into me, and I shot out of the chair into the corner of the windshield, which went here and broke every bone in the left side of my face. So all this was word. And the front of my brain, of the left lobe of this brain, was gone. It was cut off, and a little bit of that. So basically, my poor friend, she turns and my brain is sitting on my eyeball, and she was like, and I was conscious. That's what's crazy. I was conscious. I don't remember any of it. Thank God. And I think that, if you aren't prepared to deal with the trauma, like remembering it, I think that our subconscious hides it in a little box.
Yeah. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. So the paramedic, everyone took like 45 minutes to get me out of the car. We go to the hospital. My friend Charlotte comes too. I'm whisked into surgery, and she gets taken in to have an x-ray. And one of the other nurses came in and said, oh, is this the survivor of the car accident? And my friend burst into tears, was a wreck. And she was like, I thought they took her to surgery. And they were like, oh, hang on, let me find out. So they completely freaked her out. They called my dad and said, it was the middle of the night in England, and said, basically your daughter's been in this accident, and you need to come. And he said, okay, will she be alive when I get there? And the doctor said, I can't tell you that. I would get Concord if I were you. So so that happened. I was in a coma for like 10 days. Friends flew out from England. I mean, like all family, it was, full on. I woke up.
What a great support network. that you had?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. Sorry.
It's
And then you woke
no,
up.
no, no.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, you know, once you have your tribe and your support
Ah,
group, stay close to them because they got you. And if you don't have family to go to for that, you know, this is what I help clients with as well. It's like, we'll find you a support system, you
yeah.
know, so you don't have to worry because everyone needs that.
Yep.
So yeah, so I wake up from the coma and like my modeling pictures are around the room. My best friend's sitting in the chair next to me, reading a book that I knew was a dirty book because I had been reading it. And I turned and looked at her and I said, "That's good, isn't it? You got the dirty bits." And she screamed and threw the book in the air because I'd woken up, went running out. Then all the doctors come in, blah, blah, blah. I was told I'd had 11 and a half hours of brain surgery and that now they needed to take me in for more surgery. I hadn't seen a mirror. Nobody would let me see a mirror. My dad was like, "You're not going to look like yourself for a while." I was like, "What?" And he goes, "But when you're normal again," and that really bothered me, the normal.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had 25 or 26 hours of reconstructive surgery, and that kind of begun the my journey to like, I mean, I completely, this is what's spooky in regards to what we were talking about on a spiritual level.
Yes.
The day before the accident, I went, oh no, day before the accident, that night, I dreamt about the accident. A friend of mine called me in the middle of the night because they didn't get the time right. And I was crying. And I said, "I've just had this dream." And it was the same one that was reading the book next to me.
Oh, wow.
And
Interesting how our intuition like knows, right? And I don't know about you, but what I find in myself and in clients is a lot of times we've tuned out that deep listening to ourselves.
right. And it's everything. Yeah.
It's cultural, right? Like it just seems to be cultural. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I keep interrupting you, but
No, it's
here.
good. So yeah, so I hadn't seen myself in the mirror. And then when I was moved into a private room, the doctor came in and said, "I'm here to take the staples out of your head." And I was like, "What?" And then I found out I had no hair. And you know, I hadn't walked yet and all of this stuff. Long story short, I went into the bathroom with my best friend and my family were outside on the other side. And I knew that it was not going to be good, but I had no idea how bad it was going to be. And then I lifted up my head and was like, "Oh my God." So also that morning, I went to my car to get something and my passport had been stolen and all of my headshots. So it's kind of like my identity, everything who I was gone. And it was replaced with, you know, somebody who looked different, all of it. So I think this is important to say. So when I looked in the mirror, you know, it was horrific. You know, it's like, oh my God, like my life is gone, my face is gone, my career is gone, like all my dreams have gone. And I just collapsed.
Everything as you knew life to be
gone.
Was gone in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was really interesting was all of the pain that I'd been through from a child and I'd never spoken about was suddenly being reflected to me on the outside. It was like my insides were now on my outside. And it's like looking at it and I knew what I had to do. I knew
that's powerful.
I knew I had to go back. Well, I realized this later, but go back through my life and heal every single thing that had happened because I knew that I had to heal those things in order to be able to make it through the next steps. So I collapsed on the bathroom floor and my best friend said, I couldn't say it's okay because it wasn't okay. And I couldn't say it's going to be okay because I didn't think it was going to be okay. And I started crying and I was on the floor and then I heard my mother's voice say, Louise, you got this. You know, you got this. Just keep going. You're strong, you're courageous. And I was like, oh my God. And then I heard my dad's voice on the other side of the room, of the door, and I heard it choked up. And I was just like, Louise, you got to pull it together. And I thought, okay, I have to make a choice. And this is where surrender and acceptance came in. I have to make a choice. Either I don't deal with this and I just stay on the bathroom floor for the rest of my life, depressed, not even trying, or I just do the next right thing and get through this however I can. And you can't help but stay in the present moment when this is all going on. You just, there's nothing like right here, right now, because you can't think about tomorrow or the next day, because you've just been shown you don't know what's going to happen in a split second.
Absolutely. And nothing else is really important, because you're in this healing space, and that's your sole focus is how do I heal? How do I just continue to put one step forward and just continue moving forward?
Right.
And so even though sometimes you take 2 steps back, right? Like,
totally.
I don't know about you, but in the healing process, it's like you continue to go forward, but there are times that setbacks happen, and it's, it's kind of this back and forth. You continue to make forward movement. Yeah.
So
resiliency there.
So one of the reasons I had gone into the bathroom was to put on one of those turbans that people with cancer have, or with no hair. And it was, I can't remember what color it was, but I came out and I had to make everyone comfortable. So I made a joke like, I don't think this is really my color. And nobody could understand why I was talking like that. Like, what you're joking about things. So, that began my journey, really, because then I went home and people stared at me, and, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. I was going to doctors every day. Then I found out that I had a traumatic brain injury, and that was the reason I had no inhibitions and was just saying everything that I felt. I was then told that they couldn't open my left eye. They said I would never open it. And I was like, oh, I will. So I was doing exercises every day. And when I opened it, we found out I was blind.
That's really quickly, I want to back up here for a second, and then I want to go into the blind. So that's where earlier we were talking that anything is possible. And I look at like the law of attraction and abundance, and you can manifest, but you have to have inspired action. Like what I heard you say, and it went fairly quickly, is that you did all these exercises every day, right? Like there has to be the inspired action in order to make that happen. So then you find out, are you still blind in your left eye?
Yeah. I've had 5 surgeries. It was just stuck up. It was white.
Yeah.
So they kept trying to pull it to, you don't even want to know the surgery, because the first one you're awake. No, you're out. They do something. Then the next day you go back and you have to be awake while they put something behind the eyeball and move it around. And I'm like, 5 times.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, it looks marvelous now.
Oh, thank you. So, but one of the things, like my dad's sitting there and they go, you're blind in the left eye. And my dad's like, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And I went, Dad, I have another eye. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And he was like, what? And I said, because I knew I had to stay positive. Otherwise, there was just no point of walking out that bathroom. Yeah. So I allowed myself 10 minutes a day to feel down. And then if I felt anything, I was like, okay, now this will be the 10 minutes. Yeah. And then it was about sitting in front of the mirror and accepting my face. And, I knew that my soul had to be shown through my eyes, because that's what's weird. You still feel the same, yet you don't recognize what's looking back at you. So you're like, I'm still in here, but who's this? Yeah. And it's just proof that our bodies are our housings. It's our soul so I knew I had to heal my soul, the past and what have you. And so I really did a lot of work on that. And I would sit in front of the mirror and I would visualize myself as healthy and well. And I made sure to do that. I would meditate. I was doing law of attraction without even knowing it. I had to ask for help. And that's big for me, because I don't like doing that. It makes me feel hopeless. And actually asking for help is strong. Yes. And when you're worried about asking someone, remember what it's like if you're asked for help. You feel good about yourself. So just think of it as giving somebody a gift. Like, okay, I'm going to give them a gift. Could you help me? Could you take me to the store? And of course, everyone was like, oh my God, yes. All you have to do is ask. So I kind of got used to that.
And isn't that freeing?
Yes.
Yeah. I learned that too when my mom had cancer, and I watched her get over that, thought of, I can't ask people for help. And now I don't mind asking people for help, and it's not a big deal. Like we make it a bigger deal than what it is.
Right,
People want
exactly.
to help, but they just don't know what to do.
And we need them. We need them. You can't do this alone. You need the support. So if there was anyone negative around me who was saying things like, I don't know how you do that, got to get real, be realistic. And I'm like, this is realistic. I'm going to be fixed. And, 5 surgeons I saw who were like some of the best in the world. And they were like, can't do it. It's too severe. And then I found my doctor who said, all right, we'll try. So I've had total 28 surgeries,
Wow.
which include 3 brain surgeries and 5 eye surgeries. And I wore an eye patch and wigs. And I got so comfortable in myself, you'll appreciate this, that I thought, okay, I'm just wasting too much time just waiting for surgeries. I'm going to start sending out my headshots to
Yeah.
agents. So they're my old headshots, the ones where everything was perfect. So, well, not perfect, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I send in the headshots. This one agent calls me in and I get there and the guy sitting at the desk was like, oh my God. Because I was like, yeah, I've come to, and he's like, oh my God, I heard him on the phone going, you won't believe what's here. Anyway, I went in to the agent. She was like, oh, I said, I know I don't look the same as my headshot right now, but I will be fixed. But I'm just thinking there's no point me sitting at home when I could be doing Star Trek or horror movies because they wouldn't need makeup. And she just looked at me like I was crazy and said, why don't you just see me when you are fixed? And I walked out thinking, God, she has no imagination.
Yeah. And the fact that somebody says that you have to.
I'm like,
right?
I didn't even think that it was ballsy to have gone in there in the first place. But friends of mine were like, I can't believe you did that. It's like, well, you got to keep trying, right? You got to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yeah, it was 12 years and I learned a lot. And I wrote a book about it's a memoir about my journey through disfigurement because I was asked to leave public places. I was called a monster. I was called a freak.
Wow.
I had people scream at me in stores, like to get out, that I was disturbing people, like all of this stuff. And so what happened was I thought, no, that's not okay. I'm strong, so I need to be a voice for people going through this.
Absolutely.
And because, it's disgusting and it could happen to them. Like it could happen to you, so you better watch out.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got really strong about that and didn't take it personally because I was thinking, okay, this is their problem, not mine.
Right.
They got the issue, I don't.
Right.
So there was that. And then I find the doctor. And so after my memoir came out, I started getting letters from people. And so then I went to my doctor and I said, I want to set up a charity to help people going through facial disfigurement, whether it's through birth or accidents or whatever it is. I want to be there to support them. And so we set up Facing Forward. And there was a clinic at UCLA. And so it was for children under the age of 18. Okay. And we would pay for their surgeries and everything. And so families would come in with their kids and I would go and sit with the families and talk to them. And because this doctor had helped me, I had no qualms about saying to them, he will do it. Like he did it to me. Yeah. You're in the right hands. And I would talk to them about their worries, their concerns. I would talk to the kids. I would take celebrities there to get exposure. And
what a shining beacon you have been.
Well, I just felt that it was important. And I think the reason it's like, I learned that from my mom, I guess. It's like not even thinking that that's where it was from. It absolutely was. That's what she, left to me.
Yeah. And when you think about, like one of your, like we were talking beforehand, like a big message that you have is anything is possible. And what I find is when people are in a situation that, like you had a lot of grit and determination and resiliency come up in you, but a lot of people don't have that. And so you become that shining beacon that shows them that when the impossible that humans say is impossible, you've shown them that anything is possible, which gives hope.
Right. Because I think what drove me as well is I'd wanted to be an actor since I was 4.
Yeah.
And it got me through so many things. It was always like, oh, but that's coming. That I was like, I am not going to give up because of a stupid car accident. you know, I got myself to that place. And so we set up the charity, and it was amazing. And I started, you know, really helping people. And I had the phone line in my house. So every time I did a TV show, I'd get tons of emails, or the phone would ring, and I made sure to respond to everybody, to call. And that's how I got into coaching without even knowing that's what I was doing. Then I get a film, and it's like 5 a.m, and you know, it's like, okay, this is what I've, you know, worked towards. And I get the film, and I'm in the makeup trailer. It's 5 a.m, and the lead actor comes in and sits on my left, and he goes, "Oh my God, they've done an amazing job on you. Are you in the death scene?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And I said, "No, I had a car accident. That's my bad side." And he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." He was really well known. And, you know, I just sat there and I thought, I don't want to do this. I don't want to pretend to be somebody else. When I found out who I really am, I'm proud of myself, and I know that anything is possible, and I want to help other people see that too.
Yeah.
And so that's
It's
how I
like
got
finding your
into
true
coaching.
identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because we're
Because I don't
constantly
necessarily
finding,
I'm sorry, I don't necessarily love the word purpose, but more so like we have a true identity, and how that expresses itself doesn't really
yeah,
matter as long as we're doing something to express it
right,
in
right.
what we do, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So can't remember what I was going to say.
We were talking about a fairly well-known actor saying that, and how
Oh,
you
right. Yes.
claim
So
this authenticity. Yeah.
yeah, so I just realized that that's not what I wanted to do. And that, you know, it was a realization that sometimes you're taken down a different path for a reason,
Yeah.
and that's really the way you're supposed to be going. And I, you know, somebody said once, "Do you wish the accident hadn't happened?" And I said, "Actually, I don't, because if I did, then I would be taking away how I've helped other people get through things. And I would be taking away what I've discovered about myself and about life and about people and humanity and, you know, good people, bad people, fearful people, angry people, usually fearful." You know, it's either fear or faith.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Wow. Like there's so much there. It's almost like I want to do a 2-part series here. But like, Lou, when you look at that, and so that's a big piece I can tell of the why of what you do. And so when you coach, and I just tell me a little bit about like one tool that you found to be really helpful and instrumental in your journey that you share with other clients. And then we'll kind of wrap up here.
I think really the visualization is really powerful. Visualization, because you just feel like you're doing something towards, and manifestation too. So I find when I meditate, things come quickly. I'll think about something and then it happens. And so that was really good. And I just wrote positive things. I had to write positive things. I wouldn't watch anything negative. I couldn't be around negative people. It was really about getting creative.
Yeah. So it sounds like
yeah,
too, that visualization, which is so important, and then also kind of I don't want to use the word protect, but it's more of like making sure you're aware not only of the linguistic environment around you, but the energy environment that's around you.
yeah,
And really making sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that are lifting you up versus trying to pull you down.
yeah, yeah. And, you know, probably the most important one is to love yourself and know that you are enough, because, you know, otherwise you won't feel it's worth it. And you are enough, and we all can do this. Anything is possible. I was told no, and I said yes. And I knew that I did whatever it took to go there. I mean, even to the point where the doctor was like, "I think we're going to have to take your eye out." And I was like, "No, you're not. Everything else has gone this far. You're going to fix it. Let's go another go."
Yeah.
You know, it took 5, but it happened. It's willpower, recognition of yourself and your strengths, and asking for help.
We're so much stronger than what we know, right? I was reading something the other day, and I don't necessarily condone using animals to do this, but I don't even remember when the test was done, but where they put rats in water and they would drown after 5 minutes of treading
Oh my
water.
God.
I know it's terrible, but it's got a powerful pack or a powerful message here, because then what they would do is they would take rats and put them in the water, and 4 minutes in, they would take the rats out, they would dry them off, they would pet them, show them some love, and then put them back in the water. And they went 6 days treading water, right? Like the power, no, like the power of knowing, or maybe it was 60 hours. It was crazy the amount of time that then they went because of the hope, right? So part of why I share that is, Lou, like I look at you and think, like, you don't even see it within yourself potentially, like the hope that you give people, like you've saved people's lives. Like, I don't even know you very well, but just from like talking to you, people that could have gone way back into this dark path, like you've given them that hope for them to stick with it longer than what they probably thought they could.
And I gave my doctor a lot of patience. They would then see me, and then they would go and see him, and he'd be like, okay, what are we doing? They go, make me look like Louise Ashby. And I'm like, you don't want to believe me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So yeah, I even saw a friend of mine's dad there one day, and I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, hi. He's getting a facelift. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well,
Right.
Louise, I thank you so much for your time. And I'm hoping maybe we can have you on again sometime, because I think you have a whole lot more to your story than what just one episode could go. But if someone wants to learn more about you, maybe chat with you, find out more about what you do, where would you suggest that they go?
So to find out more about me and the programs, and I'm also doing retreats now. I've got one lined up for Bali and Italy next year. So if anybody's interested, just contact me for that. So go on the website, and my email, you can email me at louise@louiseashby.com. And, I do complimentary discovery calls, which like sessions. So if anybody wants that, you can have one of those. Whatever you need. I just want to help.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing your story. And I so appreciate you being on this morning. And the fourth time is a charm.
We did it.
And folks, thanks for listening in. We'll see you next week on another episode. If you would like to get in touch with me, you may have already figured this out, but we've rebranded. If you go to the old website, it'll still redirect you, but www.thelituplife.com, and we'll talk soon. Thanks so much. Let's face it, sometimes as an entrepreneur and a business leader, we need some guidance, support, and community. So we here at The Lit Up Life have 3 ways that you can work with us in order to achieve that. As a private client, we work together to quantum leap your business by discovering strategies to help you move past what's holding you back and allow you to identify what you want your life to look like. The result, your business becomes the conduit to the lifestyle, success, and impact that you intend. Now, I'm a huge believer in the power of collaboration. So in our community masterminds, you can join in with other high vibrational business owners who want to level up, increase impact, and financial gain, all with a tribe of other women to support and encourage you on your journey. Currently, we're accepting application for this women's mastermind group, which is a year-long program for women in business who are ready for that next level of success. We create deep personal awareness in a safe and supportive space where you can experience growth with others who are on that same path. Through weekly sessions with our program coaches, teachings that go beyond the buzzwords, and immersive retreats in places like Mexico, the Dominican Republic, or Belize, we work together to create long-term abundance and lasting impact in your life and business. The last and final way to get involved with us is our group coaching programs. They provide the opportunity for teaching, masterminding, and feeling like you aren't alone on this ride. Come join us. That's a wrap for this conversation. I'm so glad you've joined us. Remember to subscribe to the podcast so you can catch all of our future episodes, and visit us at thelituplife.com for details on how you can become part of the Lit Up Life community. A quick shout out to my friend Jackie Wilson and her friends, the creators of our amazing theme music. Thanks so much for allowing us to share this perfect song with our listeners. Looking forward to having you listen in to our next episode.
See the colors